Zibby, and good morning, Joseph.
Hello, good
Morning,
morning. Great to
Zibby.
join
Morning,
you.
Lagos.
Happy Good Friday.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Good Friday. Thank you for that. All right, let's kick off with the Daily Trust. Chimamanda Adichie, who is a world-renowned author, has written an open letter to the President of the United States over the just concluded presidential election. And she also did take to her Instagram account to post her support for the presidential candidate for the Labour Party. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there and hand it over to you, Amy.
It was, to put it mildly, typical of her masterful composition. She expressed her thoughts. To me, there are two key things I take from the letter. First of all, she stated one thing that I've always held, that nobody went into the just concluded elections with a sense of entitlement. There was anything possible, anything could happen as long as the promises given and restated by INEC were, adhered to. The election result would have been embraced by all. She pointed out clearly that it was not their support had more value than anybody else's, but the fact that INEC did not do what it promised is what led to doubts. And so she is feeling appalled that the US and the UK, for instance, would congratulate the result of that kind of flawed presidential election. But I'm here to tell you, I'm not holding my breath. Personally, it's nice to have people who will make representations like that for the fullness of communication. But she made a statement about casual condescension, which I feel is playing a role in the kinds of responses you're getting, because in other parts of the world, like the United States, there will be detailed, examination of what happened, what went wrong, lessons that could be learned. I don't think we have seen that here. We are in the middle of a legal process, quite all right. So this we're waiting for. But the letter she's writing, it's full of content. I think it can be read and valued. But writing it to the United States, for me, I don't think broadly, by and large, they care. They have a lot of things on their table that they're trying to deal with, not least of which is the fact that certain other countries are deciding not to use the US dollar as their world currency. So the US has its own issues. Nigeria, they stopped buying our oil a long time ago. I would argue that to a large extent, we are small potatoes to the US. Happy she wrote it, interesting content, exquisite grammar, but it'll enter their file in keep in view at the end of the day. That's my perspective.
Yeah, so to me, actually, the truth is that we should all just wait for the processes to go through. The court should do whatever they have to do so that the country can come to a rest. I mean, the whole tension, the whole bitter feelings will at least be assuaged in some form if we are all able to see the judiciary do their duty very transparently. I think that will actually help to soothe frayed nerves right now. So, well, it's a persuasive letter, but I mean, it really has little effect.
Now, some Nigerians have said it's quite ironic that a lot of Nigerians seem to always involve the international community in Nigeria's domestic squabbles or whatever issues the country is facing, and say it's a form of colonialist mentality for people to always want to report Nigeria to the Western nations.
Well, it's not.
Go ahead, Joseph. Please go ahead.
It's not per se a colonialist, colonial mentality or whatever, master-servant relationship, but the views of international community matters to a country in some ways because of the diplomacy that exists between countries, relationship that exists. It may not be. They can't force you to do anything, but their positions can be persuasive. I mean, the whole world rose against Abacha's regime when they passed the death sentence on Ken Saro-Wiwa, but it never stopped the government from doing whatever they wanted to do. But then, of course, there were some reactions as a result, and it has, in some cases, checked world leaders to be circumspect in some of the decisions they take. And look at what's happening in Israel now. Some countries are condemning what is happening there, and the US, nonetheless, US has also weighed in. So some persuasion comes with bringing these things to international attention, and it's a global world this way anyway.
KB?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. That colonial mindset could be one argument, but in my view, all the solutions to Nigeria's problems can be found within Nigeria and will be best, activated by Nigerians. So while others may have their say, we are the ones who will determine what happens tomorrow. That's just summary for me. I'm not impressed or intrigued by any other person's point of view except what Nigerians feel about Nigeria. That's me.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to some messages coming through. Dami from Oshodi says, it is Nigerians that will fix Nigeria, and that will take sweat, blood, and tears. We are not ready yet. Abbas says, an election where 26 out of 109 senators are only returning back to the National Assembly, where sitting governors lost their state, and even the president lost his state to the opposition, is what Chimamanda and some others feel was a sham. Her candidates won some strongholds of the ruling party, but that is seen as fair because of election opinion polls. Now we understand the purpose of those polls. And Ife says, Good Friday, sis, not Easter Friday. Thank you for the correction.
Thanks for correcting us. But Ebi got it right. Ebi said Good Friday. Happy Good Friday.
Yes. Okay, so let's go on to The Guardian. The wife of the Lagos State Governor, Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, urged residents to address the problem of poor waste handling, self-inflicted flooding, overgrown vegetation, open defecation, and indiscriminate waste dumping, among other forms of environmental problems in the communities.
While I support the persuasion, the wife of the president, of the governor, is the first lady, is saying, how particularly about open defecation and the care for the environment, waste management, and so on. But I think our governments are not doing enough to enlighten people, to provide the kind of environment that people. If you go to most what they call our refuse collection points, it's simply just embarrassment. It's just refuse heap. Nobody educate people on waste segregation and putting waste in this form. These are biodegradable or whatever. Nothing of that. It's just what we do is waste relocation. We move waste from one location to the other. So we continue like that. And it's government that has to champion this. It's not the individuals. You don't call people, what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? If people are just barely struggling to live. Some of them can't even buy those refuse bags to spare money to buy that. So why can't government, for example, decide to give that free to people? Let's see that, okay, let people begin to use that. There has to be some action by government to lead these behavioral changes. How many public toilets do we have? Even in public places, even government offices you go to, you can't use their toilets. So what are we talking about? So the government has to champion the changes in the lifestyle of the people by providing those things. Just decent living, for goodness sake. Nigerians are not asking for too much. So pushing the blame on to people, or people are not doing this, I don't think that is the way to go, honestly speaking.
All right.
I completely concur. Waste is a cycle. We generate it. It has to be properly collected and properly disposed. And each part of that takes some overall governmental, whether local or state, or, you need to have education too. Small children in other countries know that you don't throw things just anywhere. Here, we can start in schools, but where do we throw things? We need to have that properly embedded in all of us, adults especially.
All right. Well, let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 You can also join the live stream up on our YouTube channel, Smooth981, and post a comment on there as well if you'd prefer. But let's go on to WhatsApp and look at a few messages coming through. This one comes from Julius. Julius says the letter writer is misled and misguided. She is the caricature of the typical Nigerian bad losing mentality. I'm surprised the United States and its literary community have tended to reckon with the scribbler. Well, she's just not a scribbler, Julius.
She has the right. She has the right to express opinion.
Absolutely.
We must not shut people. We can't keep shutting people down. People are aggrieved. They must express themselves. It's a natural thing.
And we also can't downplay her achievements in the literary space.
Yeah, of course, she's a giant.
And last of all, the reason for the grievance must be considered. It's not because somebody lost an election. It is because the promise as given by INEC was not carried out. So let's not, the problem is the problem.
Dakwalawal says every country has its own problems. Like your analyst stated, Nigeria's problems will be resolved within Nigeria by Nigerians. Same way the American problems will be resolved by Americans. I don't think America is a good role model. I've got a message from Abbas. He says the obedient movement is becoming something else. And like Professor Shoyinka rightly said, the movement may have been part of the reason why Mr. Obi failed in the election. There needs to be a rein on this followership who abuse anyone who has a contrary opinion to theirs. Unfortunately, he does seem to be caught up in their validation. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll continue the conversation on the other side. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us. One second.
Via Port Harcourt.
Well, you are hearing and seeing the stories of Juju priests going to our INEC office to go and put things on the ground to get CTC. I've never seen such ridiculous stories in my life, honestly. Rivers is embarrassing us to the world.
All the time. It's so embarrassing.
I'm telling you, I can't understand. One set of people says they want to get results. The other person goes to protest that they must be there to see it. Go to court, get your own date and time, and come and get your. I've never seen such preposterousness in my life, honestly. Oh my goodness.
Can I have my?
How about Abuja? You people are getting ready for inauguration. I'm sure they will distribute Ashoebi t-shirts.
I hear you.
Don't forget also, please, when people are close to government, your boys are here, I beg.
I hear you.
You and President Zibby.
This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Looking at the news stories making the headlines across the country. Let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 You can also tweet at Smooth981. And you can catch the live stream up on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981. Click subscribe so you don't miss out on future live streams. But we're moving back to the headlines from Punch. ASU has called for the redistribution of the 320.3 billion naira intervention fund approved by the federal government for tertiary institutions. Now, this report from Punch says ASU is demanding that this amount be made available.
Yes, the ASU know these funds. First of all, kudos to the government. This is an initiative. Anything you can properly expend on education is an investment in the future of the country. Kudos for that. Now, there's a sum, 320 billion, supposed to be distributed between federal universities, colleges of education and polytechnics, and certain sums were distributed. When I heard it, all I took was that great, each institution will get a quantum of money and they can do projects. And I'll talk about what I feel should be the lowest hanging fruit. It's connected with what Joseph said earlier. According to the head of ASU, he's saying that when you do the distribution, according to the numbers, there is 41% left. And he doesn't understand, and neither do I, why there should be 41% left after you've distributed the money that is ostensibly titled intervention for universities. What is that 41% doing? I don't know. Maybe we'll need clarity. But to the kind of projects I expect, of course, each university has its own priorities and will approach that. Understand that education is a holistic thing. It should not be about buying vehicles for the VCs. It should not just be about building only hostels for the students. It should actually go to providing for the lecturers, providing for the researchers, providing for the students, and of course, providing for the admin staff. The minimum low-hanging fruit I expect is this. There should, after this intervention, not be a single have water in every single toilet. There should be solar-powered boreholes providing water on demand so that as a minimum is available both in the students' areas and in the lecturers' areas. Just like Joseph said, you should not have to go to university and not even be able to get sanitary conditions with which to function. That is a minimum. Also, solar power should be invested in so that you have improved security and in certain collective areas, permanent power. We should go from one stage to the next. We can't solve all the problems, but these I feel should be among the minimum expected interventions we expect to see so that students and lecturers can move to the next level in education.
All right. Thank you for that, AB. Joseph, do you want to add?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number, again, it's 0809 444 981. Moving on to Daily Trust. The House of Representatives has directed the NDDC to suspend the release of 15 billion naira counterpart funding requested by the federal government, pending the approval by the House. Now, this directive was given after the adoption of a motion on matters of urgent public importance by Uyime Idem at plenary yesterday.
This story, to me, just raises a whole lot of curious questions. And in course of this debate, it became apparent that the 2021 budget, 2022 budget, and 2023 budget of the NDDC have not been approved. And we are in 2023. I don't understand. How does the commission run? How does it do intervention? Or it's been spending extra budgetary allocations or what? What's going on? So yeah, it's okay to stop this kind of request by the federal government. What the federal government has been doing is borrowing money from all sources in government agencies here and there. And now this are around the 115 billion from NDDC for humanitarian intervention. The NDDC has got its mandate and its clear cut is to attend to the need of the Niger Delta area and provide interventionist, interventionist projects to help the people in that area who are suffering the brunt of oil exploration and all that. So you go to poach 15 billion from there that was never budgeted. And it's important that that is arrested because it is spending outside of the budget. That's what it means, because that 15 billion was never budgeted for that purpose. And so you're going to be spending out of it. But the irony is that even the budget that they are talking about, it's not been approved. So what is going on? Why is NDDC budget for 2021, 2022, 2023, where we are in 2022, I can understand that, but with 2 years behind, has not been approved. What is holding it? So that's the question. And so when we hear all kind of things that happen in NDDC, we marvel. In fact, we shudder really, because some of these things are simply not acceptable. And we know the games, of course. There have been revelations of how National Assembly members who are committees of Niger Delta see that place as a cash cow where they have to feather their own nest, line their pockets and all that. So some cases is to approve your budget, you have to negotiate. And that's a euphemism for me.
All right, from Punch, the House of Representatives has passed full second reading the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act, which seeks to make it compulsory for graduates in medical and dental fields to render services within the country for 5 full years before being granted a full license. Now, the sponsor, Ganil Johnson from Lagos, said the move was to check the mass exodus of medical professionals from leaving the country.
You know, when I read this story, I was in shock for 2 reasons. I have a personal sentiment that the Nigerian National Assembly is the largest, the smallest collection of people earning the most to do the least for the largest African population. Largely speaking, they are irrelevant to Nigerians' lives. But here, you have a set of people who sit down and are so unimaginative and, should I say, tone deaf, that they actually think that the solution to the quote-unquote Japa syndrome is to put chains on the people who are Jakpari. They don't have the introspection to ask the core question, why are people leaving? I guess you can't ask a rhetorical question because it's fairly obvious why people are leaving. They're leaving because as professionals, they are not able to carry out the work that they studied so hard and so long for in a manner, in an environment that gives them both professional satisfaction and financial rewards. And so they are voting with their feet. So these people get up and say, oh, people are trained at public funds. Let me tell you, first of all, not everybody goes to a public university. There are many doctors who come out of private universities. So strike one in terms of ridiculousness. Strike two, you have people who go into practice and they have literally zero facilities available to them. Sometimes doctors are the ones who buy supplies for their patients just because as a doctor, let me remind everybody, to become a doctor, put in Nigerian parlance, is not beans. I don't care who you are, doctors are some of the smartest and hardest working students, then workers after the world. And I'm talking about as a professional myself, I'd love to be the hardest working, but I know I ran from medicine. That my sister is a doctor, God praise her. My mom is happy with her, maybe not so much with me. The third thing is this. I have a solution to Nigeria's brain drain. Pay doctors what this legislator and 360 others are paid, and the senators, and pay the senators and legislators what the doctors are paid, and you will end brain drain immediately. You know why? When a doctor, a highly intelligent doctor, takes their brain out of Nigeria, indeed, you are suffering brain drain. When a legislator who thinks like these ones is leaving Nigeria, you are simply getting rid of hot air. You are losing absolutely nothing. No brains harmed in the living solution drain, adopt it, and doctors will stay here, they'll be properly remunerated, and I will be the beneficiary because in that case, my brilliant doctors will take care of me and other sensible Nigerians because the senseless ones have jackpot.
Okay, let's go on to WhatsApp. We've got some messages coming through. Pastor Dakwa says, holding the doctors to ransom. Why are the reps and lawmakers so cynical with their approach to fundamental issues? Instead of making the country an atmosphere and environment conducive for integral interaction, everybody is just basically scheming and playing games, looking for one way or the other to checkmate his or her neighbor. This type of ideology is sad. Wake up to goodness and mercy, oh Nigeria. Wow. All right. Dr. I says this shows the arrogance and disconnect of the government from the angst of its youth. What next? Ban the nurses, IT experts, teachers, etc. I expect the JAPA to increase with this extreme prejudice. Toye from Magodo says, I think the senators and legislators are the most selfish people on the face of the earth. They sit down and make or approve laws that have absolutely no effect on themselves. Make the law force the lawmakers to also not have an opportunity to head out for medical treatment. Tayo says doctors to serve in Nigeria for 5 years before obtaining their practicing license. Same doctors that have been on strike, frustrated by ASU and low pay, are the same ones they claim are benefiting from the government. The president and top officials mostly need to also engage in medical tourism. Our lawmakers are distant from the people. It's no joke, and they don't have a modicum of conscience. Okay, we've got just a short while, maybe under 2 minutes, and we're going to go through this one really quickly from Punch. Now, a group known as the Northern Youth Council of Nigeria has warned the federal government against the planned fuel subsidy removal, threatening that such moves would be resisted. Now, they say this concern is over the potential impact on the already struggling economy and the Nigerian people.
You know, I'm shocked at Northern youths that will come out to say this, because these are young people who should be concerned that their region indicates the poorest, the northeast, northwest, have highest population of poorest people in Nigeria. They are not concerned about those things. They don't see the connection between removing subsidy and addressing some of the national issues. I'm not against people feeling that so many things are wrong with the approach in government, but we cannot continue to sustain this funny contraption called a subsidy removal, where it's a vortex. It's bottomless. Something just keeps going in there. We don't see the result. So we need to address that. I understand that even Labour, they are concerned about whatever measure they are going to. People are going to be pushed into some pains, but we have to make that sacrifice. I personally believe we should, but the concern has always been the interventions by government have never been sincere. There is always that trust deficit. I hope that is what is the issue here. It's not just removal of subsidy, it's the trust issue. The government, nobody trusts the government that whatever they will bring will actually help people at all.
All right, I'm going to take one final message. Osa says, these reps steal our money and go abroad. Their children are all outside the country. They don't want anything good for common Nigerians. This is worse than slavery. They'll rather go abroad and be enslaved than be poorly paid here. Where is the NMA? What is the NMA saying? We have bad leaders. That is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thanks for your messages. Thank you for listening. And of course, special thanks to our analysts, Ebi, Bozimo, and Joseph Obari for joining us this morning.
You've been
Thank you so much. Have
Thanks
a
so much.
very wonderful Easter.
Okay, and I'll say it again. Happy Good Friday.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth